Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode. Right, well, what we got for you today? We got some new and exciting things for you, comic book fans.
Well, that's frightfully decent of you, old boy.
We've got superheroes. Nah, not Batman.
And definitely not Banana Man.
You know what? I don't think you're quite all there.
But what we do have for you, and let's just keep it between us.
Now, we have a group of superheroes who call themselves Quadmire's Team 7.
This story begins with a brilliant though unstable scientist named Jason Quadmire. And there he is, the evil genius and main drive behind the Quadmire's Team 7 series. He was believed by his colleagues to be a trustworthy and responsible pillar of the scientific community.
Did you just say pillock of the scientific community?
Be that as it may, he revealed his true colours when he discovered what he called exotic particles emitted from deep space.
You know what? I may not know a lot about space, but I know there's a lot of it between my ears, so I've been told.
Jason had researched the particles and decided to build a device capable of attracting said particles to Earth. Not only did this discovery finally bring devastation on a mass scale, it allowed Jason the chance to figure out how to generate a reality bubble within subsisting space and time. He was able, using exotic energy, to force open a doorway to another dimension. You know what? That is the last final time I fuck around with science. Hey kitty kitty! Hey kitty! It was a small dimensional zone, granted, but large enough to transport an entire city to it, trapping it inside the subatomic bubble. In point of fact, he succeeded in placing New York City, in its entirety, its 8,399 million inhabitants, into a tiny little universe. A ship in a bottle, so to speak.
Although it was more like being trapped in a snow globe. You know, those fun little items you can pick up from souvenir shops. And as you can see, Jason Quadmire is holding one now in the palm of his hand. Inside its clear plastic shell, you can plainly see a few tiny replicas of New York's landmarks. The snow globe that Jason is holding is a clear representation of the dominant nature of the sociopathic mind. He gloats at it. He marvels at its purity. He gives the snow globe a shake and then watches as its pristine snow falls, covering the city's tiny denizens.
As the rest of the world suffered devastation on a terrible scale, Jason Quadmire and the rest of the people of New York City managed to escape the terror, but ultimately all of them embarked on a terrible journey of their own. Jason Quadmire and his aide, a muse known as I Recall, were the only two beings during the dimensional transitioning who remembered anything of their previous life experiences. The other citizens of New York City, however, retained no memory of events prior to the transition. So here they were, tiny humans caught in a tiny bubble, trapped in a city that remained cut off from the Earth. The mad scientist Jason and his aide, Ira, were able to retain their memories by design. As it turned out, the radiation from the exotic particles had delivered side effects. Memory loss being one of the main consequences of exposure. I Recall, a muse who has the ability to manipulate human memory, was able to shield his mentor, Jason Quadmire, from the hazardous exposure. The remaining citizens of Manhattan, who were caught in the transition, failed to hold on to their recollections. Jason took this opportunity. Finally, he stepped up and decided to act as both savior and sovereign over the people of New York City. He offered them calm and clarity, giving them his version of events. All he wanted was the means to control the tiny world in which they were all seemingly trapped. Within this manufactured bubble, Jason enjoyed many years of rule and forced jurisdiction. This was what he wanted all along. This was now his realm. These were now his subjects.
Naturally, the average citizens of New York City were confused and disoriented, suddenly waking to find that their memories had been taken. Every memory from their previous lives stolen. Even the memory of the transition from Earth to this microscopic dimension had been wiped. It was up to Quadmire to reprogram and redoctrinate, to rebuild their beliefs and their impressions from the ground upwards.
But as time went by, there were a handful of malcontents. Some would call them supervillains, who were motivated by their own self-interests. They began to question many things. You know the type of questions. Oh yes, existential ones.
So tell me, what happened next?
What happened? Well, imagine waking up one morning, getting dressed, making coffee, going to the window, pulling back the curtains and witnessing a big gaping hole in the sky. Well, actually, dear boy, the hole in the sky is a crack, an opening in the bubble that was created when the city entered into this dimension.
Cracks? What the hell do you want to talk about cracks for?
These supervillains were hell-bent on figuring out the secret of the crack in the sky.
Jason Quadmire eventually found a telling crack in the dome of his snow globe, and there it remained in the sky, a blemish and plain to see. Everyone who was trapped in the bubble craned their heads to the sky in wonder and confusion. What could it have been? What did it represent?
Finally, Jason Quadmire put Ira in charge of gathering together 6 of the most powerful superheroes in the city. Ira Call would lead them against some of the most dangerous and deadliest of foes imaginable. Of course, Quadmire wanted to keep the status quo.
He really didn't want people questioning this, that, or the other. He wanted their obedience.
Quadmire succeeded in duping these 7 heroes into doing his dirty work. Okay, well hopefully that's laid a bit of groundwork for what is to come. I'll see you all next Monday, where I'll tell you some more stories about the characters and situations surrounding Quadmire's Team 7. See you all then. Bye.